Welcome to the Cantina. We're here with Mirah Bolender, the author of City of Broken Magic, with her second novel coming out, the sequel to City of Broken Magic, Monstrous Citadel, which releases in November. Thanks for Mirah for coming out and being with us. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I just wanted to kind of start off the interview by giving our listeners a little bit of a background about yourself. How long have you been writing, where you come from, things like that. If you'd like to just give us your quick bio.
Sure. Me, myself, I've been writing since about as long as I can remember, which is great because it gives me a lot of practice, but it's also awful because my grandmother keeps all the old stories and she busts them out every Christmas and puts them under the tree as if it's something cool. And I'm like, no, because my sister tries to read it mockingly and it's bad. So, I've been writing a long time, long enough to not suck so bad at it.
Well, I mean, it's practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly, exactly.
It's always fun to look back on your early work and critique yourself and have that minor self-embarrassment and self-loathing moments,
yes.
It kind of guides you in the future.
It makes you realize that, oh, yes, I was so bad, but I thought I was really good then. And that just means what I think is really good now I'm going to be really embarrassed about because I'm going to be so much better later on.
I want to say that almost everybody that hits a certain point in their career can look back and have those same moments of just, oh my God, like what was I thinking? What was I doing? Yeah. So us being early in this podcasting game too, I'm quite sure that I'll look back on some of these early interviews myself and cringe, a little bit. As far as, where are you from? Did you go to school for writing or?
Yeah. Location-wise, I've been all across the Midwest.
Okay.
We moved a lot when I was younger. For college, I went to Co-College in Cedar Rapids in Iowa, specifically because they had a writing major, the creative writing major, which is actually funny because book one, The City of Broken Magic, was actually my senior capstone project for the major. And so that's why it's the way it is because I had the benefit of the manuscript workshop that was able to go in and rip out all the really terrible pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you find that experience to be actually, specifically picking a certain school that caters very much to what your end game goal was? A lot of people just pick the school that they got into and pick a major, but to be very selective on your writing courses, do you find that really pushed you ahead of the game as far as getting your work out there?
For me personally, yes, because I'm a really big introvert, and so I didn't have a writing group that I was part of, and so doing the courses through we had the fiction workshops where we were always being challenged to do something new and different. My teacher, he would put prompts based on what he was reading at the moment. One class got to write all about zombies for an entire semester because that was all he was reading. But he would say, okay, so we read this folktale. So you're going to write basically this folktale, except you need to include an ironing board. You need to do a day in the life and something else. You need to wrap all this into one story. Now write it and send it in. And then we got that round table experience where we were able to go back and forth and say, okay, so this is what I liked about it. This is what I didn't like about it. Critiquing the content of the work rather than anything like grammar. And it really kind of opened my eyes to the idea of getting feedback because I hadn't had that before. Some people are able to do this sort of thing without the coursework at all.
Yeah. And
that's fantastic. For me, it definitely worked better for me to have that classroom environment because otherwise I never would have been able to push myself into that. But yeah, it gave me a lot of benchmarks for my quality standards and for how I was writing, what I was doing really well, what I wasn't doing very well, and it gave me the opportunity to experiment because it gave me so much.
Do you feel the courses helped you with your creativity, being able to express yourself more with your thoughts, or on writing structure and actual kind of how you lay out your story and acts and things like that? Which do you think you benefited more from?
Probably the first one because it let me do things that I never really thought about doing. I never would have thought, okay, write a day in the life on the job with footnotes a la House of Leaves, but that was basically the prompt that my book sprouted from.
Okay.
When it comes to structure, I'm really bad with structure. So it improved me, but I'm still working on that.
Well, you look fairly young. I'm sure you have a long road ahead of yourself. Now, when it comes to City of Broken Magic, how did you come up with that concept? From the blurb I was sent, it was expressed as a mixture of, fantasy novel with a little bit of the Hurt Locker in there. So do you find that you like to pull in a little bit of our modern reality into your fantasy work? How did you come up with that?
Yes and no. When I was picking the timeline for when City of Broken Magic is supposed to be taking place, it's an alternate universe, but the technology level, for some reason, I decided that I wanted to write in an era where they still had refrigerators. I don't know why, but also far enough in the past where we wouldn't be bound by modern
cell phone technology and things like that.
Not because cell phones are hard to write, because that would be kind of fascinating to write, but because if you put it in the modern world, people are going to impress so many things on the modern world time period because that's what we're in.
Yeah.
That's what we experience. But if you push it back into the past, then people are a lot easier to lift that.
It engages their imagination a little more.
They're a lot more likely to suspend disbelief. Not always, because I got a review on the one of the advanced copies of the story takes place in 1233, and someone wrote in was like, they didn't have this technology in 1233, and I'm like, sir, I don't think you realize
the alternate reality of 1233, they kind of did.
Exactly. Yes.
Well,
yes.
and I found that a lot of moviegoers and directors and producers find that it's easier to tell a story. That was the thing I found from Stranger Things, doing a lot of research on that, is that they wanted to put it in the 80s because with internet and cell phones and stories, you don't have to do a lot of the character building and a lot of the character interaction anymore because we're all so distant from each other now because of social media, that to tell a visual medium story or a character story, to have those kinds of technological advances in there, it actually kind of takes away from the character building and things like that.
They have to work it out for themselves rather than just say, Google, what's this thing in the basement?
Exactly. So what would you say the time length is that it took you to write City of Broken Magic and its sequel?
For City of Broken Magic, again, that was
a college project.
So it's taken up to 5 years for the actual publishing since the first sentence was written.
Okay.
The drafts for book 2 have existed almost as long as the draft 1 for book 1, just because it just kind of gradually went into it. Not in any good sense. I had to, in the past year, totally revamp what it was, but it's been in the process for a very long time.
Okay. And then your second book, Monstrous Citadel, releases in November. How did it feel to have your original work so well received that you get green-lighted for a second book? Or was it part of, you said it's going to be a trilogy, was it a triple package and they said they wanted it all at once?
They bought the trilogy from the get-go.
Okay.
And I was super excited. And my agent was super excited. I guess this isn't something that usually happens on a first book, and so I was really, really lucky with the people I've worked with, and that it hit their what they were looking for and what they enjoy. Because when it comes down to it, everything in publishing is based on matter of opinion. And so just because you have a really great story does not mean that it's going to be published, because you have to find the agent who says, I'm going to sink in all this time and effort because I love this story, or the agent, publisher or publicist who will look at it too and say, okay, I'm going to buy this from you, and I'm going to walk with you every step of the way to make sure that this comes to fruition because I love this story. It speaks to me as well. You don't always reach those people. It's kind of hard to do. Yeah. So it's all a matter of luck. And again, it's opinions. So
when you wrote City of Broken Magic in college, did you write it as a complete story for your school and then have to break it down into 3 separate novels? Or did they read City of Broken Magic, you already had the outline, and did you have to submit that outline to your editors to give them kind of a direction that you were going in the future, given that the other 2 novels weren't written yet?
You need to have at least book 1 finished before you can pitch that kind of thing. I pitched to my agent when I had a draft of book 1. He took a look at it and he knew I was looking at more things, and so he asked for the big outline of, okay, where do you see this series going? And so for that was enough for him, and he was able to pitch it that way because he knew I was working on it and we were improving. But you need to have at least book 1 done. You need to have the full structure of that, or at least a very good working structure so that they have something to work with and they know what they're dealing with in the future.
Just a little bit about yourself. Who do you enjoy reading? Who do you like to sit down when you're not scribbling away or typing away in your laptop? Like, who do you like to read when you relax?
Oh gosh, I've been reading a whole bunch of books. I'm finally getting off of the college, oh no, I can't read anything thing. So now I'm trying to make up for lost time. My favorite one at this moment is V.E. Schwab. She wrote the Shades of Magic series, Darker Shade of Magic. It's my favorite one so far. She's coming out with more. But, yeah, I've been reading a whole bunch of them recently. I just finished Kings of the Wild. I think his name's Nicholas Ames, the author.
Okay, yeah.
I could be wrong. I read Red Shirts by John Scalzi recently. Creatures of Wanton Ruin, Witchmark.
So you like to stay in the fantasy genre, and that's kind of your niche where you kind of live?
Fantasy, sci-fi is where I'm at usually. I can read nonfiction, but usually it's written in such a way that it doesn't compel me enough. It's based on the book, but it's so much easier to get into the story and the human nature of a fantasy novel because it's all based on characters rather than more of an event. So.
And while you're in town, are you getting a chance to enjoy Chicago? We have a beautiful city here. I know these cons can be really crazy and hectic, but are you able to see the streets, go eat some, our famous pizza, beef sandwiches, hot dogs, anything like that? Are you going to enjoy yourself?
Well, I haven't been able to yet, but my publicist is taking me out to Pisano's tomorrow, so I'm told that it's really good.
Yeah, there's. I mean, Chicago is known for its food. If you can't find a top-notch restaurant and something you like, you're not looking hard enough. That's for sure. Before we wrap up, if you could give our listeners and readers just a quick, synopsis of what you would like to portray of your work to intrigue them to maybe pick up a copy, how would you like to describe your novel in your own words?
Oh gosh, that's like the worst thing you can ask an author. In a nutshell, it's about a magical bomb squad, except instead of bombs, it's magic items, but instead of magic items, you can think of them as like rechargeable batteries. Basically, if you have a rechargeable battery and you don't charge it, there's a monster that will pop up inside and eat you and all your family and your house. So
a magic lithium battery,
basically. So recharge your batteries, kids. But yes, the sweepers, who are the main characters, are the ones that go out and basically uproot these things when they get too bad, because the city is under this rule that doesn't happen inside their city walls due to a big misunderstanding of decades back. They're still going under that, and so it's getting harder and harder to protect the people in the city because no one knows not to recharge things when they don't know there's any consequences, but they're really terrible consequences.
The concept was very intriguing. I was very felt very lucky to be able to have this conversation with you. We're really looking forward at the Cantina to reading your work and then doing a good review on it where we can link this conversation where I have a lot more information in my background.
All right.
Is there any way that you'd like our listeners and readers to be able to converse with you? Do you have a Twitter, an Instagram, or anything like that you'd like them to be able to follow you on?
I am absolutely on Twitter. I'm on, I believe it's M.E. Bolender is my tagline, whatever. I also have my website, mirahbolender.com, if they want to find me there. I should be putting up more details about book 2 on there if anyone's interested very shortly. We just got the cover revealed, so that's fun.
Oh!
Yeah, so those are the best places to find me.
Well, I really appreciate your time. It's a busy con. It gets really crazy in here, so if you'd be able to take 15 minutes out of your schedule to talk with us, we really appreciate it. And Monster Citadel comes out in November. Mm-hmm. And thanks for hanging out with us, Mirah.
No problem.
Pleasure.
Again, thank you. Thank you for meeting me.
Thank you.